The Utah Jazz have been a playoff team in the Western Conference for the past several years, and with arguably their most talented roster in the past decade, the expectations for this year were no different. But so far this season, they have had a lot of ups and downs. So, in today's video, we'll talk about the Utah Jazz and how good they have the potential to be. Let's get right into it. Before the season started, a lot of people projected the Jazz to be a top 4, possibly even top 3 team in the Western Conference. So far, they haven't been bad, but they definitely haven't lived up to those expectations. The higher expectations came from their new additions, Mike Conley and Bojan Bogdanovic, who are both veterans, who are both all-star caliber players, and with the players that they already had, like Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, being their stars, people thought that the Jazz could be a powerhouse team in the Western Conference this season, and for very good reasons. Mike Conley has been an all-star type of point guard for the past pretty much his whole career, and most people consider him one of the most underrated players in the NBA because he hasn't gotten those all-stars that a lot of people think he deserves. Bojan Bogdanovic has been one of the best shooters and one of the best role players in the NBA, and after coming over from the Pacers, the expectations for him were very high, possibly even just as high as Mike Conley's. So far this season, Bogdanovic has been great, and he has lived up to or exceeded all the expectations that Jazz fans and NBA fans had for him. Mike Conley, on the other hand, has been very inconsistent and pretty much an average point guard so far. Conley got off to a very slow start with his new team, but since then he has gradually improved. I don't think that he is to the level that he is capable of being. Mike Conley is an extremely talented guy, and I think that he can be an elite point guard, which he has not shown so far this season, but like I said, he has definitely gradually improved, and it's obvious to anyone who is watching that as he gets more comfortable in the new Jazz system, he will be at the level that they want him at come playoff time. Mike Conley's slow start and inconsistency, however, are not the only reason to blame for the Jazz inconsistent play so far this season. Rudy Gobert, one of their star guys, one of the best defensive players in the NBA, has had a solid season, but I don't think he has been as good as a lot of people hope he would be. He has been a solid player on D. He's been a good paint protector because he has a lot of defensive talent, and any dude his size is obviously going to be tough to score on, but he hasn't been the same dominant presence that we've seen in past years from the former defensive player of the year. The loss of Derek Favors and Ricky Rubio, in my opinion, are also big reasons for some of the Jazz's early struggles so far this season. Even though those guys were just role players, I definitely think those guys were overlooked and they brought a lot to the team. Derek Favors was one of the few big guys that the Jazz have, so after losing him, they obviously have even less big guys now, or at least experienced big guys besides Rudy Gobert. Derek Favors was a solid rebounder, a solid inside scorer. I think Derek Favors added a lot to the Utah Jazz team, and he was a big loss this offseason. Ricky Rubio did a great job filling his role as the Jazz point guard the past 2 seasons, and even though they replaced him with Mike Conley, who to most NBA fans is definitely better than Ricky Rubio, I definitely think that Mike Conley is not used to the system while Ricky Rubio was. So the early struggles are understandable, and I think that they are easily manageable, easily fixed, but I think that the losses of the old Jazz players have definitely been overlooked. The Jazz bench is definitely not as deep as it has been in the past, and I think that one of the main problems for them this season has been their lack of production from the bench and from their role players. Donovan Mitchell, the Jazz star, is doing everything they need him to do. The offense is running through him. He is getting to the bucket. He is creating shots for himself and others, but they cannot rely solely on him. Bogdanovic has also been great. Like I said before, he is having arguably the best season of his career. Right now he's averaging over 20 points per game, but really Donovan Mitchell and Bojan Bogdanovic are the only guys who are consistently scoring, and they're the only guys who can consistently create their own shot, which I think needs to change. And I think it will change as Mike Conley and some of the other role guys that they have become more comfortable in the system. But right now, the system of Bogdanovic and Donovan Mitchell doing everything on the offensive end for the Jazz is definitely not sustainable. If you have been paying attention to NBA news, then you probably know that Jordan Clarkson was traded from the Cavaliers to the Utah Jazz, and I think that this was a very big move. He will definitely add that production off the bench that the Jazz have been missing, and I think that he can kind of run their second unit. He can be that scorer and that distributor. So far in the few games that he has played with the Jazz, he has been very impressive, and I see him being a valuable piece for them come playoff time. Another issue that I've repeatedly said in this video is that they just need more time and chemistry. They lost a lot of their old key players, and they gained a lot of new guys who are instantly being put into big roles like Mike Conley, like Bojan Bogdanovic, who has done very good in his role. But I think these guys learning their new roles, the players that they already had, learning to play with the new players, I think that come playoff time, the Utah Jazz will be fine, and recently they have been doing very good despite their early season woes. If Donovan Mitchell and Bojan Bogdanovic can keep doing their thing, if Rudy Gobert can become the dominant presence that I know he can be, if Mike Conley can get into the groove that I know that he can get into, if he can be the player that he was in Memphis, and if their other role players can step up, I think that the Jazz will easily be a top 3 team in the West and might even have a chance at competing for a Western Conference Finals come playoff time. I'm not worried at all despite the inconsistency that I've seen so far, but only time will tell. Please leave your thoughts in the comment section down below, and remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next one.